We here at Calvary Chapel, Kaneohe, believe that we are living in the last days, that the return of the Lord is nigh, even at the door. And actually, that's why 2 weeks ago, we began a mini-series of sorts on why it is that the rapture of the church of Jesus Christ must happen before the 7-year tribulation. Now, today will be part 2 in our study of the pre-tribulation rapture, and perhaps more importantly, why it is that it is absolutely vital that we know that and know why we believe that. See, it's not enough to know just what I believe. I need to know the why behind the what of what I believe. Now, I gave you 2 weeks ago an acronym using the first letter in the word rapture, and we created 7 reasons why the rapture must happen before the 7-year tribulation. I'll give them to you again. By the way, for those of you that are interested, you can go online to our website at calvarychapelkaneohe.com, and everything that you see here on the screen, minus the graphics, is in a downloadable PDF file that you can download and print out. It has all the notes, references, scriptures, etc. So, beginning with R in our acronym for the word rapture, the reason why the rapture must happen before the 7-year tribulation is because of the revelation to us. A, the effect upon us. P, the purity of us. T, the trumpets for us. U, the uniformity with us. And R, the responsibility on us. And then lastly, E, the encouragement from us. Now, last week in part 1, we looked at the first reason, and it was because of the revelation to us. You, last week, I don't know if you realize this or not, but you got a crash course in the book of Revelation. I mean, in just a short, amount of time, you learned more about the book of Revelation that you could have ever imagined, because it is such an easy book to understand, contrary to popular belief. Now, the second one that we're going to look at today is the A, the effect upon us. To do that, I'm going to have you turn in your Bibles to the Gospel of Matthew and the 24th chapter. We'll begin in verse 36, and you can follow along with me as I read through to verse 44. This is known as the Olivet Discourse. Jesus is really teaching and even preaching, and it's in the context of the last days. And in response to a question asked by the disciples when they queried Jesus about what would be the signs of the end of the age. In other words, what will the world look like prior to your return? And so Jesus answers. He begins by saying that there'll be rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There'll be famines and earthquakes in diverse places, and he likens them unto birth pains. Now in verse 44, he goes on to say that no one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For, verse 38, in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying, and given in marriage up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field. One will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a handmill. One will be taken and the other left. Therefore, verse 42, Keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Actually, verse 45, we're going to read all the way through to the end. Who then, verse 45, is the faithful and wise servant whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household to give them their food at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. I tell you the truth, verse 47. He will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time. And he then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wow. Okay. Jesus, in describing what the world will look like and be like at the time of the rapture, is clearly talking about a pre-tribulation rapture. Here's why. A pre-tribulation rapture affects me by causing me to be watching for the day and the hour, whereas with a mid- or post-tribulation rapture, I can calculate the day and the hour. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do the math. If I'm going to be raptured in the middle of the 7-year tribulation, well, then I can do the calculations and realize that there's 3.5 years left. There's 7 years from the time that the 7-year agreement was confirmed, that covenant, Daniel 9:27. In other words, you set in motion a specific and clear timeline. And so instead of watching for the day and the hour, you can calculate the day and the hour. If you place the rapture anywhere but at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, then it's not going to be as unexpected as a thief in the night would be. See, Jesus is likening his return, his taking away one left in the field, as a thief in the night. Now, I've never had a thief call me and say to me, I'm going to rob you at the hour of 2 o'clock a.m. Is that a good time for you? Be expecting me. I know that's silly, but I think it makes the point, argues the case, that if the rapture is anywhere but at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, it has a profound effect on me. And really, if you think about it, that was the effect in Noah's day. I want to encourage you, for those of you who are interested, do a study on the comparisons of our day with what it was like in Noah's day. I'll give you just one little morsel that you can sort of chew on and whet your appetite, if you will. It's believed, based on archaeological finds, recent finds, that same-sex marriage was legal in Noah's day. Here's another one. I'm not going to give you all of them. You need to do this on your own as a Berean. Search the scriptures and see if it be true. But the population, based on scholars' calculation, in the day of Noah was at least, some believe, 6 billion with a B in population, because people lived so much longer. So there are a myriad of parallels between our day and Noah's day, but the most important one, at least for purpose of our discussion today, was the effect that this had in Noah's day. We're told, Jesus says that they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. Right up until the day and the hour that Noah and his family entered the ark. And Jesus is saying that's what it's going to be like at the rapture. This passage that we just read in Matthew's record is speaking clearly about the rapture of the church of Jesus Christ. Now, when Jesus says that two will be working and one will be taken while the other is left, he's describing a world that seems to be about business as usual. They're buying, they're selling. They're building, they're planting. They're working. This is just another day at work. They got up that morning, they had no idea that their coworker, that coworker in the cubicle next to them, would be taken and they would be left behind. So, in other words, the climate, for lack of a better word, probably not a very good word in this day and age, but the environment in which we have described here would seem to indicate that everybody was just going about their business and knew not what was about to happen, what was about to come upon them until they were all taken away. See, the rapture has to happen before the 7-year tribulation. Otherwise, what Jesus is saying here makes absolutely no sense at all. See, what's the world going to look like right before the second coming? I don't want to be here to find out. We're told what it's going to look like, and suffice it to say, it's not a pretty picture. It is unspeakable cataclysm, horrific carnage. And it's really, in some ways, the antithesis of what the world will look like prior to the rapture. I don't think prior to the second coming there's going to be a whole lot of weddings. Pastors aren't going to be real busy performing wedding ceremonies prior to the second, especially in the last half of the 7-year tribulation. So it doesn't fit. You can't make that work. It's not compatible. And really, it's the reason there will be those who are left behind. They're not expecting it. They're not watching for it. And that's why they're eating, drinking, planning, partying. No hurry, no worry. Which I believe is one of the most successful campaigns ever launched by Satan. Is to not try to deceive us that there's no heaven or there's no hell. Rather, it's to deceive us into believing there's no hurry and there's no worry, as with the wicked servant in the parable. Oh, no worry, my master delays his coming. He is staying away a long time. I've got time to party. So in addition to watching, the pre-tribulation rapture affects me by causing me to be faithful. Whereas with a mid or a post, there's no hurry, there's no worry. There are things that still need to happen. I've still got time. See, if you place the rapture anywhere but at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, you delay Jesus' coming, and don't do that. Don't be delaying my master's coming. Jesus is coming, and he is coming soon, and he is coming, he said, at an hour that we do not expect. And in so doing, it will profoundly affect how you and I live our lives. That's why it matters. Let me ask you a question. How many times when you've been sharing the gospel with someone and you're trying to convey to them the urgency of the times in which we live, that they need to get right with God and they need to get ready because Jesus is coming? How many times have you heard someone say something to the effect of, well, I'm just going to party on right up to the last minute, and then, when things start happening, then I'll just, get right with God. I'm going to have my fun now, which implies that, being a Christian is no fun. And in all fairness to those who would say that, I almost can't blame them for that. I mean, they look at us and where's the joy? I mean, they're looking at our Christian lives and, here we are, It's, the grind. It's, hey, I'm going to church. You want to go to church with me today? Really? No, thank you. In other words, you can't have fun as a Christian. It's almost like, God just peels back the heavens and, through the clouds, yells at us and says, hey, you're having too much fun down there. Cut it out. We get into church and we start looking like the frozen chosen. And then the brother or sister in front of us raises their hands and they get a little Pentecostal. And we're over here all smug and, we don't want to, because we have sweat stains under our armpits. We don't want to raise our hands. Sadly, that seems to be the banner under which those who blow this off and shine this on rest their case. And that's the effect that a mid or post-tribulation rapture will have on people. It affects how they spend their time. Why? Because they still have time. And that's the effect that it had on the wicked servant. And in a similar way, it is also the effect that it has on the last days lukewarm Laodicean church. There's a common denominator. We've been talking a lot about Laodicea lately. We talked about it last week. And the common denominator is that both a carnality and a brutality have gutted out the urgency of the priority of eternity. After all, I've still got time. There still the temple needs to be rebuilt. The covenant needs to be confirmed. And you can go on and fill in all the blanks. There's so many things that really need to start happening in order for the rapture to come. And in so doing, you've delayed the master's return. Conversely, it's the opposite effect on the faithful servant, and similar in many ways to the effect that it had on the last days faithful church, the church of Philadelphia. The only church next to Sardis of the 7 churches in Revelation chapters 2 and 3 that did not receive a rebuke from the Lord. The Sardis church was the persecuted church. Pardon me, not Sardis, Smyrna, pardon me. Sardis got rebuked, trust me, okay? Smyrna was the persecuted church. Philadelphia, the church of brotherly love, no rebuke. They were the faithful remnant. And the common denominator is that they both wisely lived with both an expectancy and an urgency for their master to return. See, for this church, for this servant, my master could come at any time, and I want to be found faithful in what he's called me to do, so that he can say to me, well done, good and faithful servant, enter in. I don't want his return to be for me as a thief in the night. And because there's nothing that has to happen before the rapture of the church, that has a pretty profound effect on how I live my life, how I spend my time, and how I look at things that are happening around me. And that's another effect that a pre-tribulation rapture has upon me. It causes me to long for his appearing. Do you long for his appearing here today? I mean, is there almost an ache, a longing for his soon appearing? I mean, I had it was either YouTube or Facebook, and it was you could just feel the heart behind the comment. Thank you so much, Pastor, for teaching on the rapture. It has so encouraged and blessed me because I want to get out of this wicked place. She's longing for his appearing because this world is not her home. She's just passing through. We're nomads, we're Bedouins, we're pilgrims, we're foreigners, we're aliens, as one translation renders it. This is not our final destination. Soon and very soon, we'll be taken to our eternal home. And so, as I look around this world, I think to myself, I really don't want to be around. I don't want to stick around. But the encouragement comes because the longing comes. Now, if you put the rapture in the middle or at the end, you're not longing because it's longer. That's just not a play on words. See, now, my longing has been deferred because the hope is longer. Because now more things have to happen. And if you place the rapture anywhere but at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, then again, certain prophecies have to be filled. I don't want to get my hopes up. The proverb says, a hope deferred makes a heart sick. See, for the one who knows that the rapture happens before the 7-year tribulation, it affects my life. It encourages my heart because I know that at any minute that trumpet sounds and I am out of here. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Bye-bye. Aloha. Masalama, habibi. Whatever you want to say. That was Arabic pigeon for those of you who didn't quite catch that. See, this affects the way I view Bible prophecy. I mean, this is a game changer, as they say, because now I'm looking for the appearing of the Lord Jesus Christ instead of looking for the appearing of the Antichrist. See, if the rapture isn't before, then I'm all freaked out about the Antichrist. I'm thinking to myself, you know, I wish I was longing for Jesus Christ, but I'm fearing because of the appearing of the Antichrist, which must come first. Now, I want to address a question that is often asked, and I will never tire of saying this because I think it's so apropos, especially for those of us who are just so ready to get out of here. We want the Lord to come back yesterday, and we're longing for his appearing. Now, what if it's not as soon as we think? What if we have to go for another 4 more years? Sorry, that slipped out. I don't know, it must have been a... Oh my, it's a gift. What if the rapture isn't for another several years? What if it's not for another 10 years? Listen, I want to live my life as ready for the rapture if it were today as I would be if it's not for 10 years from now. And here's why I say that, and here's why I believe that, and here's why I live that, by the way. I've got nothing to lose. I can't imagine in my wildest imagination that anybody at the rapture, after the rapture, is going to say to themselves, I wish I didn't live my life the way I did, waiting for the rapture. I wish I'd have partied more. I wish I'd have worked more. I wish I would have laid up more treasures here on earth instead of in heaven. I've never had anybody wish that they didn't live for the Lord at the end of their lives. As a pastor, I've had occasion to be at many a bedside of someone who was about ready to take their last breath here and their first breath in eternity. And without exception, there's never been the remorse of, I wish I would have spent more hours at the office. No, it's, I wish I would have spent more time with the Lord and with my family and serving in the ministry. You know, there's just a sense of, when I hear a man of God, as I did once, say to me, and this is someone whom I just looked up to, and say to me that my only regret is that I didn't spend more time in prayer. Thinking, you didn't pray enough? If you didn't pray enough, here's a man of prayer. You didn't pray enough? I am so, just shoot me now, man. You gotta be kidding me. Do you know that there is a crown in store for those who long for his appearing? 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Now, Paul says, there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. There's a blessing in store. There's a crown of righteousness in store for you, because you are longing for his appearing. You are watching for his appearing. You are ready for his appearing. One last thing. If there's no pre-tribulation rapture, the effect it will have upon me is that now I won't be longing because his appearing has been prolonged, and it will affect how I see certain things that are beginning to happen in the world, because I'm viewing these prophecies through a different lens. See, Luke 21:28 has to be ripped out of my Bible, because Jesus said, when you see these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your head, because your redemption draweth nigh. Now, if I'm a mid-tribulation rapture believer or a post-toasty rapture believer at the end of the tribulation, then I can't read Luke 21:28 and have it make any sense. Because it should read, if that were true, that when you see these things begin to come to pass, then go buy land on the big island and farm your own food and store up and stockpile, because the tribulation is a-coming. Jesus isn't a-coming. My redemption isn't drawing near. The tribulation is drawing near. He's not coming to take me away. I need to button up instead of look up. I need to hunker down instead of lifting my head up. Again, it's a game changer. Everything that I see happening around the world, especially those things which ultimately find their fulfillment in the 7-year tribulation, but they're already starting now. It's kind of like, I think just recently, someone put up the sign with the number of days left to shop before Christmas. I'd like to find out who that person is, because that is just wrong. It's August. That's wrong. Now, if the signs are already up for Christmas, I know Christmas is near. But I know that Thanksgiving is nearer. Let me say the same thing a different way. If everything is already being decorated, the world is already being decorated with the signs of the 7-year tribulation, and Thanksgiving comes before Christmas like the rapture comes before the tribulation, then how much closer is the rapture? It affects the way that I see things in the world. My worldview is skewed, for lack of a better way of saying it. And when I hear breaking news like that which we had just a couple of days ago last week, I don't see it the same way. I don't view it the same way. Did you hear about this? According to one news source, we're one step closer to embedding computer chips into people with a new technological breakthrough. A team of researchers revealed a translucent, flexible circuit, a sort of electronic skin that you can apply to your own skin, just like a temporary tattoo. And once the device is activated, it can monitor your heartbeat, the flexing of your muscles, your brain waves. It can even detect speech. And outfitted with a wireless transmitter, it could send all the data straight to your computer, or maybe even to your doctor, or who knows, the limits of the, and I'm quoting, the limits, watch this, of the imagination of things we might be able to do with this. The possibilities are limitless. You know what it says about Noah's day? That the imagination was continually wicked. And they were inventing more things in Noah's day. And that's the word translated in many of our translations from the original Hebrew in the Old Testament. Now let's just say hypothetically that I don't really believe that the rapture is before the 7-year tribulation, and then I see some news story like this, and I'm, kind of connecting the dots with the Verichip, this, FDA approved the implanting of a computer chip the size of a grain of rice, injected just with a needle into human beings. The FDA, 2004. What now, 7 years ago. So, but that just, you can retrieve information from the chip, but this apparently retrieves information from your brain. Oh, how convenient. Revelation chapter 13. I'm sitting in front of my computer. I got my hand on the mouse, and I've got this little electronic skin or implanted within, and the mouse just reads. I don't need my user ID that I keep losing or my password, because it just reads it off of the chip. And the chip reads it off of what I want to, do. I don't even have to click the mouse anymore. Oh, and that webcam that you have, that they're all spying on you on your laptops and your computers. I'm just kidding. Not really. They might be. You never know. Put a piece of tape over it just to be sure. But until you Skype, then you can take it off. But that I know, I just freaked a lot of you out just there, right? But the camera reads the electronic device on the forehead. And we're told that the Antichrist will use this technology, or a combination of something similar to this technology with the technology that's already there. And he'll force all, great and rich and poor alike, to accept this mark in the forehead and in the forehand if they want to buy and sell. Now, if I'm one who doesn't believe that the rapture comes before the 7-year tribulation, then I'm ordering my next computer without a camera on the thing. When I go into the doctor, and the doctor says, we have a better way now to monitor your heart and your blood pressure, and he pulls this thing out, you're going, it changes how I view everything. And it changes how I live my life because of the effect that it has on me. Conversely, I believe that the rapture is before the 7-year tribulation. I see this, I look up, I lift up my head, and I say, Lord, Maranatha, come quickly. I'm not going to be around for this. I don't have to worry about this. This is not something that I'm going to be here for, because my Jesus is coming for me, and he will take me out of here, because he went to prepare a place for me. And he said, where I am, there ye may be also, because in my Father's house are many dwelling places. Now, by the way, that is going to come into play, Lord willing, next week when we get to the P, the purity of us. It's one of my favorite of all 7 of them, because we're going to talk about how it is that when Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you, he's talking to his bride the way a Jewish bridegroom would say to his bride, now that we're engaged, I'm going to go build a bridal chamber, and I'm going to come and snatch you away as a thief in the night. And I'm going to take you to that place that I prepared for you. And we're going to celebrate and consummate our marriage together. And you know how long that marriage is celebrated for? A period of 7 days/years. While we're celebrating, as one said, the world will be tribulating. And that's the effect that it has on me. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much. How could we possibly thank you enough for telling us in your word why it is and how it is that we believe what we believe. Lord, thank you for not just saying it and just leaving it there. Lord, thank you that you've given us something to hang on to, a hope to hang on to, a reason for that hope. Lord, I pray that all of us here today will take it to the next level, the next step, and give to every man an answer because of that hope that lies within us. Lord, thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name.